Greetings, members, one and all of the Salivation Nation. An economic collapse. Many of us have been talking about it in this community in one form or another. Some of us think it's going to happen. Some of us think it's not going to happen. Some of us are literally almost rooting for it. And others of us are very scared and frightened of the prospects of an economic collapse. But make no mistake, it's something that is on a lot of people's minds in one form or another, in one definition or another. You know, the crisis of 2007 and 2008 was a very scary situation. Most of us here in this community remember those years very well. And in fact, for many of us, it was sort of the catalyst to really start to accumulate these precious metals that you see before you here, with more of an alarmist attitude. I know for me, I learned a lot of lessons after the financial crisis and the years following, in terms of what I thought was going to be almost inevitable, was going to happen probably about 3 or 4 years ago, but it didn't happen. And that is the crying wolf. A lot of people are crying wolf out there, and warning people what's going to happen. You know, there's a wolf coming and the like. And of course, there's a speaker that spoke at the Silver and Gold Summit in San Francisco that I watched, named Grant Williams. And I'm going to post a link to this talk. It's 41 minutes, but well worth the entire 41 minutes. It's captivating. There's other lectures from the Cambridge House International Incorporated a YouTube channel, and I watched a couple of those as well. But Medio Man sent this to me, and I do get a lot of emails to information, and some of it just for my own benefit. I don't know that Medio Man was intending that I take this and make a video from it, but it was so captivating that I felt compelled, because I think it gives a great insight as to the history behind the gold standard, and an excellent analogy in terms of crying wolf, because I think that's an important aspect. Though this is not the main topic that he covers, it is a part of it that I think is crucial, that everybody needs to understand, because we have become almost jaded with not only what our government is doing, but what many in the gold and silver industry, whether or not they are miners or sellers of gold and silver, you know, the supposed pumpers and dumpers out there. And this talk gives quite an insight as to getting back to a gold standard, and how we get there through crisis. Although I do differ with him on that point. I believe that there will be a reset of the dollar, and it will be founded mainly in part, and it could come in 2 stages, perhaps. And, you know, they talk about a return to the Bretton Woods standard. You know, there's a potential that Jackson Hole could be the next place where they hash all this out. And I use that term sort of as a pun, because hash graph some people say it's going to be the next evolution of blockchain technology, or a radical new system that is much more efficient in every manner. But nonetheless, there could be a rules-based monetary system to start as part of the reset of the dollar. And that's not really described in this talk, but as a matter of crying wolf, you know, the warning signs are out there. And it's not just, you know, us in this community, but the powers that be, you know, with the way the political climate is these days. Now, you know, the Keynesians are even saying it now, because for political expediency. And you know what? In my view, no matter what the ideology behind the argument is, you know, if they're now starting to speak the truth, I will listen to the truth, no matter who tells the truth about where we're going in this country, and as far as what the future of the dollar is. I believe that the dollar will get stronger before it gets weaker, and I believe there could be a time when gold and the dollar will both rise, depending on what kind of situation happens around the world in terms of the geopolitical climate that we find ourselves in. We have a lot of unrest politically here in this nation, as well as other nations around the world, and there's a lot of issues and a lot of problems, and people, and I think that's one reason why we're seeing many of these nations accumulate more gold, the ultimate safe haven. And what you see before you is several gold coins here, bullion gold coins, but you also see silver. And, in the talk that Grant Williams gives, he talks about gold as a gold standard, but I do believe that silver as money will follow gold in terms of, its price point to match its value. In other words, its value will sooner or later become realized along with gold. Even if we have a gold standard to which silver is not a part, I believe that silver will catch up. Now, we all understand the silver to gold ratio is very high. I believe that spread could actually increase in due time. But nonetheless, silver, I believe, will follow along on the tails of gold during this time, because it is seen and is also accumulated by banks and by other nations around the world, as well as gold. And so be confident as well in silver as well. People have different theories about where they think that ratio is going to go. I don't think it's going to ever come to the natural ratio, anywhere close to it. I think that's a pipe dream. But I also don't believe it's going to get down to where we had seen it in the past, such as 15 or 20 to 1. I'd be very surprised if it got down to 50 to 1 or 40 to 1. 60 to 1 is, I believe, a good target, and that may be a time when you may consider trading silver for gold, if for one reason or another. Storage being one huge reason why one would trade silver for gold. But nonetheless, fascinating indeed. We'll see how things play out in the coming months. But I do believe that we are going to see a reset of the dollar. And I think that the powers that be in the system of how the dollar works, as that system between the Federal Reserve, the Treasury, the big banks, that is where everything funnels through. That system around the world, like it or not. And there's a lot of not that like that. There's a lot of nations that would love to get off the dollar, understandably so. We've been printing it like it's been going out of style for so long. We've seen some tightening as of late. And, of course, we're seeing interest rates rising. And some of these policies with trade and the like, we're seeing more dollars come back into the United States, which, in a sense, since no more is being printed, then those dollars are becoming used here. And I think that's why you're seeing, one reason why you're seeing the dollar go up. And I believe there could be a time when the dollar and gold go up together. But in the end, because of the way the dollar is and how much debt there is, not just national debt, but debt around the world, derivatives and personal debt, and around many Western nations. That's one place where Russia doesn't do the debt thing, as opposed to some of us. But nonetheless, the ruble is in trouble, and the dollar is the world reserve currency, the premier, and everything funnels through there. And that sanctions and the like that have occurred for the United States with nations like Russia, Iran, this is going to come back, and eventually, in the long run, it will hurt the dollar. But we've got the luxury of time here. We have a good economic situation right now. However, it is fragile, and anything can change. We are long overdue for a recession. Many of my friends know that I like to be as intellectually honest as I can. And I've always said before the election in 2016 that I believe we are going to have another recession, no matter who is in office or what party is in control of whichever chamber. So be prepared, folks. I think it's going to happen someday. It may not be as bad as some people are saying, and we could be crying wolf. But sooner or later, the wolf is going to come back, and it's going to come out, and it's going to weed out all of the bad stuff, and it will actually help everything in the long run. As Grant Williams points out in his presentation of the theory of the wolf in Yellowstone, reintroducing 31 wolves. It's a very fascinating talk. I encourage you to check it out. Thanks again to Medio Man for sharing that with me. I will post it in the link in the description of this video to his quite compelling talk. No matter where your stance is on gold or the financial situation, the data that he shares and the way that he presents it is just absolutely amazing. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to you all for watching and encourage you to please rate, comment, and subscribe.